Hello, I am Darrell Moon here with my co-host Donald Lacey, here to talk to you about all the international and community school news. Welcome to the Community School News.
If anyone is in an accident and aren't breathing, then it is a good idea to know CPR. CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation. At the TCS High School, Mark Henkel taught and certified the students in CPR and first aid. The students were taught all the aspects of emergency first aid. This was all made possible by advisory board member Tom Acaboni because at the end of the day, TCS students that know that CPR ain't no joke. Joke.
Nice. We are going to talk about politics today in the segment I like to call Darrell's Ludicrous Adventure.
I like it.
Thank you. You're very nice. This week was an eventful week in politics, but it seems like every week is. Arguing about body parts and walls. It's weird. The third round of Super Tuesday was this week, and it wasn't a surprise that Trump won every state but Ohio on the Republican side, and Hillary Clinton won every state on the Democrat side. And Senator Marco Rubio dropped out of the race after losing in his home state of Florida. The main story to follow is President Obama is giving another karate kick to the mean guys over in Capitol by nominating a Supreme Court justice, even though Congress said that he shouldn't. Congress reminds me of a grown man smacking a lollipop out of a kid's hands just because their parents are around. They just say, no, get out of my store. The nominee is the 63-year-old Chief Justice of the U.S. Court of Appeals for Washington, D.C., Merrick Garland. The question is Senate going to pass through the Senate?
And now it's time for weather by Darrell.
The weather for today is 64 degrees and mostly sunny. Saturday will be a chilly 47 degrees and cloudy. Sunday will be 39 degrees with rain and snow.
With the wrap-up of the second trimester, a meeting was held for all Year 1 and Year 2 students and sponsors at the school. There was a special presentation from art teacher Mr. Miko with a showing of artwork produced by the class. Students shared insights into their work with me, Donald Lacey, explaining my work reflected on explosion of happiness. This was followed by a talk on highlights of the trimester before each class broke into separate sessions. Teachers Ms. Janara and Mr. Tom led discussions with students and sponsors about progress and issues. Serious concerns about student habits and stress were discussed, as well as the pace needed for graduation in 3 years. The meeting ended with a report card distribution. The next sponsor meeting will take place on June 2nd.
In this edition of the City Paper, TCS High School was one of the main stories. This was all thanks to Jim Berger, a Remington neighbor, a reporter, and a journalist who wrote about the lives of all community school students who live for a better education. We are very grateful for Mr. Jim and his contributions to the community school.
Woman mistakes super glue for eye drops and seals her eyelids shut. She was 20 in China and mistaken super glue for eye drops. She went to the hospital and the doctor separated her eyelids. She is fine because the super glue went on her contacts instead of her actual eye. She had to really have good aim to go directly on her contacts. Shouldn't have been a long wait since everyone thought she was dead because she was sitting with her eyes closed. I guess you can say that case is closed shut.
I'm Darrell Moon, and this is my classmate Donald Lacey. I have many classmates like Donald that have different skin color than me, but I respect them all and I treat them no differently because that's how I was raised. If you cannot see this picture, it says March is the National Stop Blaming White People Month. As most of you know, this is in response to Black History Month, which is the month prior to this. I saw many pictures. From them I saw a mockery of police brutality, a mockery of religion, and a mockery of race. This is an example of racism and white supremacy, and I don't appreciate it. I am not and will never be afraid of what racism can do to me, but I am afraid of what it can do to this country if we are all turned into this. I will not stand and watch a mockery of what I live for every day and the fight that my ancestors gave me in order to become a free man, a free black man. I'm a black man that's not afraid to speak his mind. America's history of racism and ignorance has to stop here. It does not stop by ignoring the problem and pretending like anything happened. It stops at the root. It stops by teaching our sons and daughters how not to be followers of a leader who's walking on the edge of a cliff. Racism stops by looking it in his eyes and taking it head on. I know that talking about it won't change anything, but it definitely makes me feel better. We can all become stronger if we stand united as one.
After all the jokes and news stories, I think that wraps up the news for this week. I'm Donald Lacey, and that's Darrell Moon. See you next week for TCS Student News.